manning the controls, pushing all the buttons. Hopefully not pushing my buttons. Got a lot to do, as I said, over these 3 hours. The Yankees taking on the Pirates, dynamic game a lot of people have an eye on as Aaron Judge's home run watch continues. He was looking for number 60 tonight. He is 0 for 3 with a strikeout and a walk. He should have one more at bat in this game. Yankees losing, I believe it's 8-4 now in the Bronx to, well, the worst team, arguably one of the worst teams, if not the worst team in baseball. Doesn't bode well for the Yankees winning 100 this year, which I thought they would. And kind of hard to believe when you consider everything this team did through the first 100 games of the season, that now they're not going to win 100 games. How bad they were in July and August and been kind of mediocre here in September now. I think they're something like 9-6 in the month, something like that, or 10-6 in the month. But looks like tonight's going to be a loss at home to the Pirates, barring something unforeseen. In this hour of the show, I got to talk about Aaron Rodgers. Got to get something off my chest with regard to the Packers quarterback. We'll do that coming up in just a couple of minutes. Chris Perkins will join us from the Sun Sentinel in South Florida. Get some thoughts with him on the Dolphins, who are one of the darlings of this early part of the NFL season. Everybody thought it was a foregone conclusion that the Bills would run away with the AFC East, and now they've got the Dolphins to contend with, and they'll play each other in Week 3. Another NBA player speaking out on the Robert Sarver situation. We'll go into that. A couple other NBA notes as well. But stick around. We'll talk a little bit about Aaron Rodgers as we continue with this Tuesday edition of The Cash In. I'm Jason Page. Good to have you with us on Sports Map Radio. Doing a show on my birthday. It is. It's kind of weird. Kind of weird to do a show on my birthday. Nah, I did everything over the weekend. Yeah, over the weekend we did a lot. I gained 6 pounds, we'll put it that way. We did a lot of eating. Ugh. Terrible, man. 12 minutes past the hour. I'm Jason Page. Coming up, 13 minutes from now, Chris Perkins, the Sun Sentinel in South Florida, get some thoughts with him on everything going on as it relates to the Miami Dolphins, and they are one of the big stories early in this NFL season. I mean, look, they're standing at 2-0. They get Buffalo this week on their turf. You know, Buffalo coming in playing great football, and that'll certainly make for a matchup worth talking about. So we'll get to that coming up with Chris Perkins and all things Dolphins a few minutes from now. I wanted to start out the show. There's certain things you can do and get away with. There's certain athletes that have sort of carte blanche to do whatever they want. And just because they're really good at what they do. And Aaron Rodgers is one of those guys. But let's be clear about who Aaron Rodgers is at this stage of his career, how he conducts himself, and why he's allowed to get away with it. And I'm going to make this really simple for people tonight. No matter where you're listening, you'll be able to understand what I'm about to tell you. The thing about Aaron Rodgers is this. He knows how to throw a football really well. That's it. That's all you count on Aaron Rodgers for. He knows how to throw a football really well. If he couldn't do that, nobody would be putting up with his BS. Nobody would be putting up with him talking about, yeah, I did psychedelics, dude. And that's why I won back-to-back MVPs, man. Yeah, it was wild. It was tubular. And you just don't get it. You don't understand. You're just not smart enough to get it, man. I'm the smartest guy in the room. I went to Berkeley. And this is what makes sports and high-level professional athletes different from any other profession on the planet. If you're really good at what you do, nothing else matters. Rodgers was on Pat McAfee today. Basically, he owns Pat for 17 weeks a year. Well, actually more than that because they get him during the postseason too. They might even get him in the offseason. I don't know if they pay him or if he's just buddies with McAfee, which he might be. But make no mistake about it, that interview is a joke every week because Pat isn't going to ask him anything tough. But that isn't what Pat McAfee's job is. Pat McAfee's job is the place to go if you're an athlete where you're going to have a soft, cushy landing, where you're not going to get tough questions, where you're not going to get tough takes thrown at you. Now, he might say something about somebody he doesn't like if they're not ever coming on with him, and then he's a tough guy. But the reality is, and look, he's entertaining as all hell. I've watched him. Pat McAfee is an entertaining guy, but he's not particularly intelligent. He's not giving you some nuanced viewpoint on anything. And he basically allows Aaron Rodgers to come on his show every week and say whatever the hell he wants, basically unchecked. And Rodgers has just run with it. Aaron Rodgers has basically just run with it. But the fact of the matter is, and today Aaron Rodgers went after Colin Cowherd for mocking him for this hallucinogen that he used, this psychedelic. Yeah, I'll call it a drug. You want to get mad at me? Get mad. Oh, it's a plant. Yeah, so is marijuana. Well, it's a plant. So is a mushroom. Or a vegetable or whatever a mushroom is. Yes, a mushroom. Yeah, a mushroom isn't a drug either, right? Because you could just ingest it. You get it sautéed on your burgers. That'll get you all screwed up too. And yes, I know some states have legalized certain types of mushrooms. You don't have to tell me. But the reality is, Aaron Rodgers has one place where he'll go talk to somebody every week, get lobbed softball questions, say outlandish things that he wouldn't be able to get away with anywhere else because he'd get checked on them. And the only reason he can behave the way he's behaving at this stage of his career, there's one reason. He can throw a football really well. If Aaron Rodgers played like Mitchell Trubisky or Justin Fields, he'd be bagging groceries at Vons in Berkeley and getting stoned with his friends on Martin Luther King Boulevard. That's it. Nobody would put up with this if he was even a mediocre quarterback, if he was Trubisky, if he was Ryan Tannehill. Nobody would put up with this garbage. But the Packers have to. But believe you me, if he didn't play well, if he couldn't try to make those receivers, and he didn't play particularly well on Sunday night, but they won. That's what matters in this league, and he'll play well before the season gets along, and I'm convinced those receivers will get better. The guy's got one Super Bowl ring. They treat him like he walks on water. You know who else has one Super Bowl ring? Trent Dilfer has a Super Bowl ring. Brad Johnson has a Super Bowl ring. There's a lot of guys who have won one. You know what the great ones do? They win more than one. Eli Manning, for crying out loud, has two. Aaron Rodgers has one. And he acts like he's just got run of the place whenever he wants it. And the Packers allow it. Instead, Rodgers is celebrated, defended, pandered to. Why? Because he can throw an oblong pigskin with stunning accuracy to someone that runs really fast or jumps really high. And it's as simple as that. And he went on McAfee's show today, and he went after the media because they're so hard on him. Yeah, because he wants to be a stoner during the offseason. I mean, great. Don't sit there and try and defend it. The same way he says it's unfair that people play with words. It's unfair that people use words like drug to describe the plant he's taking, because by doing that, they're demonizing him and they're causing people to get demonized, and words are dangerous. Yeah, how about like the word immunized? Remember that word that you dishonestly used last year? When you claimed you were immunized, when you indeed had not been immunized? I'm so tired of Aaron Rodgers. Go throw the football around. Go win your games, win your MVPs. You got your one Super Bowl, great. But to come after the media for simply critiquing the drug you took, the hallucinogens that you took, it's silly. And somebody's got to call them out on it. Because you know Pat McAfee won't. 800-224-2004. You got a thought on it? 800-224-2004. You could tweet at me as well at the back page. Send me a note there. We'll come back. Chris Perkins will join us from the Sun Sentinel next on The Cash In. I'm Jason Page at Sports Map Radio. I want that in the podcast. Yeah, that and the two interviews. Yeah, I'm not putting that many. I really only want to put 3 or 4 segments in the podcast, because there's just no point in putting a 3-hour podcast. People aren't listening to that. So I got to get this interview up. The Dolphins were obviously one of the huge stories from week 2 in the NFL. Their come-from-behind win in Baltimore, now 2-0 on the season. Tua Tagovailoa just out of this world in the win with 6 touchdown throws. And now it doesn't get any easier with the Dolphins taking on the Buffalo Bills in week 3. Let's bring in Chris Perkins of the Sun Sentinel, joins us to talk about this Dolphins team. Talk about this comeback of, epic proportions in Baltimore and sort of what it does for The Dolphins were obviously one of the huge stories from week 2 in the NFL. Their come-from-behind win in Baltimore, now 2-0 on the season. Tua Tagovailoa just out of this world in the win with 6 touchdown throws. And now it doesn't get any easier with the Dolphins taking on the Buffalo Bills in week 3. Let's bring in Chris Perkins of the Sun Sentinel, joins us to talk about this Dolphins team. Talk about this comeback of, epic proportions in Baltimore and sort of what it does for this team's confidence.
Man, Jason, let me tell you, that game, I was as I was watching that game, I was thinking, they could score and make it interesting, but the way that Baltimore is playing, they're definitely going to win this game. And lo and behold, almost out of nowhere, the Dolphins just kind of found this spirit that Tua starts making these pinpoint passes. Tyreek Hill is getting behind the defense. Jalen Waddle is open in the end zone for a red zone touchdown. It started with the Mike Gesicki red zone touchdown where he climbs the ladder. They just caught fire. And look, I think there's 2 significant things about that victory. The first one is they make this incredible comeback on the road against all odds. I believe that there were teams that were down 21 in the fourth quarter had lost the last 711 games in the NFL.
Wow.
So they make this incredible comeback. But then on top of that, I just think that it shows something about the spirit of the team. And I wrote this on SunSentinel.com after the game, just that fighting spirit, because, I think that it shows that kind of the sum is greater than the parts. And the defense wasn't doing anything for 3 quarters, and they make a big 4th and 1 stop. The offense had been kind of slogging its way through the game, and all of a sudden, Tua is making these deep passes to Tyreek Hill, and he's doing everything he needs to do. Special teams is coming through, and so against all odds, this team was able to do it. So I think that's the 2 significant things about that victory.
How much of it is, and it's kind of a hard question to answer, but I mean, how much of it is them, making this rally versus Baltimore getting complacent, getting tired defensively from covering these guys, all this speed that the Dolphins have in the receiving game? Is there a way to kind of weight it in terms of, which side of it you sort of weigh in on?
Oh, 100%, Jason. Look, Baltimore had to be complicit, right? Because there were some boneheaded plays. How do you lose Tyreek Hill, the fastest guy on the field, the guy who can really, really hurt you on the deep ball, and you let him get behind the defense? So yeah, Baltimore was complicit, but the Dolphins. Again, you're on the road, and you're down 28-7 at the half and 35-14 going into the fourth quarter. It's easy to quit. It's easy to just say, they're going to win. That this is the NFL. There's no way we come back. But they had to make these plays. It's kind of like in baseball. You can know the fastball is coming, but you still got to hit it. So, Tyreek is behind the defense, but you still got to make that throw. And Mike Gesicki's open in the end zone. And by the way, on that throw, let's give some credit to Tua here, because he is starting to silence some doubters and answer some questions. These aren't final answers, but that touchdown pass to Mike Gesicki, that was a 9-man coverage unit. They only rushed 2. And so for Tua to find Gesicki in the end zone and have that patience, give some credit. So, yeah, Baltimore was complicit, but you still have to make the plays. And to come back from 21 down in the fourth quarter, you got to take your hats off to the Dolphins, and you got to start to look at them and go, there might be a little something special brewing here. We'll know a lot more this week, but to do what they did last week, for Tua to do it, for Coach Mike McDaniel at halftime, he didn't cuss at him and he didn't belittle them. He said, hey, look, let's go out there the second half, let's play Dolphins football, and let's see where we end up. So that mentality was correct. A lot of things went right, and so it's a attention-getting, head-turning victory for the Dolphins.
Joined on the hotline by Chris Perkins of the Sun-Sentinel, talking about this Dolphins team 2-0 now on the season. And it's almost the perfect scenario for Mike McDaniel, because, yeah, you won, but there's still plenty of things you can point to as a head coach that are areas of concern. I mean, let's be honest, it wasn't as if Baltimore didn't have any trouble moving the football for the first 3 quarters of that game. The fourth quarter notwithstanding, they were able to get just about whatever they wanted in the running game with Lamar Jackson, and obviously in the passing game with Lamar Jackson. But now, if you're McDaniel, you can kind of play the game of, you can't get too overconfident, because you got a Buffalo team that's coming in for week 3, and it wasn't as if they played a perfect A+ game against Baltimore.
Yeah, you're right, Jason. That's kind of what they say is the coach's dream, right? It's a victory, but there are some teaching moments in that victory, and look, that defense, I'm very high on that defense because of how they finished last season and what they did in that 20-7 season opening victory against New England. But they got worked for the first 3 quarters of that Baltimore game. They got worked. And look, that was a total system failure, wasn't it? Because we saw Baltimore, that 103-yard kickoff return to open the game. So, if you want to say that coaching was a factor, that the team wasn't prepared out there, if you want to say that they got that gut punch on special teams, the offense wasn't doing too well. Tua had 2 first-half interceptions, and we just talked about the defense. So the whole first half could be teaching moments from coaching to special teams, offense, and defense. And so, look, and Mike McDaniel has pushed all the right buttons so far, right? He beat the GOAT in the first game. Second game, he beats another Super Bowl champion coach in John Harbaugh. He takes his team on the road and has that great comeback. But, I'm not sure that any of the Dolphins are going to be smelling themselves just yet, because you do have Buffalo coming in here, and that's not a team that can be ignored now. The Dolphins probably have the optimal situation from the standpoint it's a 1 o'clock Sunday, September game in South Florida, so it's going to be hot and humid. Plus, Buffalo is coming on a short week, but still, we saw what Buffalo did the first 2 games. So, it's going to be if there can be a week 3 showdown, Jason, this will be it, and I don't think the Dolphins are going to be overconfident at all, despite how they started the season.
We're watching the Chiefs struggle without Tyreek Hill, and you see what he meant to that offense, and now you see how the Dolphins' offense has been elevated with Hill and Waddle in a season where we see some teams that aren't clicking early on and sort of needing these extra 2 or 3 weeks of the regular season to sort of get on the same page. Why is this offense clicking as well as it has?
Well, Jason, I like what Mike McDaniel has done with this offense, and there's a horizontal, vertical stretch of the field, and what you're asking Tua Tagovailoa to do is to hit Tyreek Hill and Jalen Waddle in space, and the other guys too, right? The running backs Chase Edmonds and Raheem Mostert and tight end Mike Gesicki. But let's face it, we're talking about Tyreek Hill and Jalen Waddle here. Short and intermediate routes for the most part in space. They make one move, bam, they're gone. It's all about the yak. Deliver an accurate pass so that in the right space so that they can do something with it afterwards. And this offense isn't that complicated. It's tough to defend, but when you look at it, it's not that complicated. You put the ball in the hands of the playmakers, and you let them do it. When you need to throw deep, when you're down, 2 scores like on Sunday, it's nice to know that you have that ability too to go over the top of the defense, but that's not what this offense is about. This offense is tailor-made to the talent on this team, and I think that's why it's clicking. But I will say this, Jason, this is the same offense that against New England only scored 1 touchdown. So, 20-7, they had a defensive touchdown in that game. So, it's hard to say really where this offense is right now. But what we saw, that potential against Baltimore, this offense can be scary.
Is there any concern in terms of the balance and having to have, a situation where now in back-to-back weeks, there's a chance that this team's going to have to throw the ball a lot because that as good as you think the Dolphins' defense is, there's just no slowing down or at least stopping what this Buffalo team can do offensively. They're going to score points this year. Is there a concern about having to consistently have these games where Tua is going to have to throw it 40 to 50 times?
I think there is. There's a large segment of fans that aren't concerned, but I think there is. Look, we still have to see Tua prove himself. He is on a great start right now to the season. My 2 concerns were decision making and deep ball. No concern with accuracy at short and intermediate passes. The dude could do that all day. That's not an issue. When you get down by 2 scores and you need some deep throws, could he do that? He showed on Sunday that he has the ability. Can he do it consistently? We'll see. But he's answered. He's done as much as he could do so far. So we'll see. The season will answer that question. And this defense, the same goes for this defense. Can you slow down a team such as Buffalo? Baltimore had their way with them for 3 quarters. This team still has a lot to prove. There are no definite knowns about this team yet, but they are definitely off to a promising start. And that Baltimore victory showed a lot. So we'll know a lot more this week after the Buffalo game.
Chris Perkins of the Sun Sentinel. Real quick before I let you go, do you get the sense they're going to come out running the football on Sunday? Because I almost feel they have to try and limit the number of possessions that you're going to get from Josh Allen in this offense. Do you get the sense they're going to try and ramp it up in the running game early?
Well, here's the thing, Jason, that they can kind of use this short passing game as a running game. I'm not sure how much, Mike McDaniel, when he was offensive coordinator at San Francisco last year, they were 7th in rushing offense. I like that because I think that most quarterbacks in this league need to throw off a play action, Tua Tagovailoa included. Having said that, I think that you almost have a de facto run game when you can throw these short passes to Chase Edmonds, to Raheem Mostert out of the backfield, and then, 10, 12-yard routes to Tyreek Hill and to Jalen Waddle. So I don't know, conventional wisdom would say that you run, but Mike McDaniel might not be running a conventional offense here. We still have to answer some questions. I would say run the ball or have a short passing game, but you're right. You do need to control the ball, control possession, and keep the ball out of Josh Allen's hands as much as possible.
Chris Perkins, Sun Sentinel, does a great job on the Dolphins. Good to catch up with you, my friend. Hope we do it again throughout the season.
All right, let's do it, Jason. I'm here.
A lot more to do. History in the Bronx to tell you about. Don't go anywhere. I'm Jason Page. We continue with the Cash In on Sports Map Radio. How about them apples? I didn't realize it was going to be that close. I thought I'd have about a minute and 15 seconds. So what happened with the caller? Yeah. Of course. Of course. Yeah. Okay. All right. See, Judge just hit number 60. Yep. Yeah, I got the call. Yeah. Oh, yeah, he's terrific. Look, I think if here's what I think. If he leaves New York, I think he will wind up I think he'll wind up in San Francisco if he leaves New York. Yes. I think he's from there. Yeah, he's from Vallejo, which is just north of San Francisco. And I think that's where he would go. No, that's wishful thinking by Red Sox fans. He's not going to Boston. Hold on. No. Wow, Yankees have the bases loaded. They were down 8-4, bottom of the ninth. Now they have the bases loaded with nobody out. It was 8-4, now it's 8-5 with bases loaded, nobody out. It's wild. We continue on this Tuesday night. We've got history to report. Yep. History made in New York tonight. In the Yankees' 147th game, Aaron Judge doing this.
Three infielders on the left side for Judge, and here's the 3-1. Drove deep to left field. There it goes! Number 60! Slide over, babe. You've got some company. Aaron James Judge has tied George Herman Babe Ruth with 60 home runs.
Just amazing. And he hit a bomb. 430-something feet. Somebody's got a really valuable baseball out there. And the Yankees, at that point, were trailing 8-5 in the bottom of the ninth against the Pirates. Now the Yankees have the bases loaded with nobody out in the bottom of the ninth. Don't go anywhere. Crazy things have happened. Who knows? Judge may get another at bat if the game winds up going to extra innings. Giancarlo Stanton up for the Yankees in that bottom of the ninth with them trailing 8-5 and the bases loaded. He's been awful at the plate since coming off the injury list. They desperately need something out of him. And they just got it. Can you believe this? The Yankees walk it off on a Giancarlo Stanton grand slam in the bottom of the ninth. The Yankees trailed 8-4. And Stanton walks it off with a grand slam on the night. Aaron Judge hits his 60th home run. This is amazing. You can't make this up. This is why the Pirates are going to lose 100 games this year. My God. Yankees win 9-8. Trailing 8-4 going to the bottom of the ninth. They win 9-8. It's just insane. As soon as we have the Stanton call, I'll pull it up. Wow. But the Yankees win by a score of 9-8. Anytime you want to talk to us, 800-224-2004, 800-224-2004. You can tweet at the show as well at the back page. And by the way, I'll call somebody out. I won't say anybody's name. I won't say the caller's name because they didn't want to come on the air. And if you don't got the you-know-what to come on the air and say it, don't call up John in Houston, who's manning the phones, and say, and talk smack about me because of what I said about Aaron Rodgers. You want to come on the air and say something to me, come on the air and say something to me. And for the love of God, if there's anybody that knows anything about my 25 years in this business, I have never said anything on the air that I don't 100% believe in. I don't need to get a rise out of people. After 25 years, I don't get off on getting a rise out of people on this show or any other show I've ever hosted. Whether it was in New York City, Market 1, San Francisco, Top 5, nationally with NBC, I've never had to say anything on the air because I needed to get a rise out of people or get people upset. Aaron Rodgers is acting like a self-entitled jerk. And if he wasn't able to throw a football really well, he's exactly where I'd say he would be. He would be serving up groceries at Vons in Berkeley. Oh, but he went to Berkeley. I mean, really. Totally smartest guy in the room syndrome. He's an amazing football player. I marvel at the things he could do throwing a football. But I can separate a guy's athletic ability from the type of person he is. And I started learning to do that in the, early 2000s and then the late 2000s, when you really started to learn in the 24/7, 365 sports culture who some athletes are. Not all of them, not even the majority of them. But there's a select few out there who just want to behave a different way for the sake of being different. And in some cases, there are some guys who are just truly ignorant. Is Aaron Rodgers doing anything that's going to harm somebody else? Probably not. But if Aaron Rodgers is going to call out the media, then I will call out Aaron Rodgers for the way he behaves and the way he's continued to behave as his career progresses and as he feels untouchable. By the way, I can't wait for that Thursday night game. Not to change topics, but I can't wait for that, not Thursday night game, the Sunday game between the Bills and the Dolphins we were talking about with Chris Perkins. Wow, give me that matchup. We're going to find out real quick just how good this this Dolphins team is. I'm skeptical based on how many points they gave up in that game on Sunday. Not that I don't think they're ready for prime time, but I don't think they're ready to be on the same field for 60 minutes with the Buffalo Bills, who have, through the first two games against, Tennessee was supposed to be decent at least at the start of the season. And then what they did in the first game of the season. I don't know how you can look at the Bills. That Bills are a Super Bowl contender. Are you going to tell me right now through two games, a Dolphins team that barely got by the Patriots, who are an average team at best, and then we're trailing by 21 in the fourth quarter against the Ravens until the Ravens made some terrible mistakes defensively? Are you really going to try and sell me on the idea that the Dolphins are on the same level as the Bills? Not all 2-0s are created equal. And I think this one would kind of fall into that category. Give me your thoughts. 800-224-2004, 800-224-2004. And again, you can hit me up on Twitter at the back page. Got a tweet from James in Detroit. Says, unfortunately, Jason, Pat McAfee isn't Mike Wallace, and I'm not even a fan of his show at all. What a waste, in my honest opinion. I'm not I'm just being honest with what Pat McAfee's show is. If you want to be entertained, you want to laugh, he's got 7 people doing the show with him. It's kind of like, and not, I would never compare him to Dan Patrick because he couldn't shine Dan Patrick's shoes, considering what Dan Patrick has meant for and done for this industry. But Dan Patrick's at a stage in his career where he's got 4 or 5 people working with him. Some guys can do shows alone. Some guys can't. I could do a 3-ring circus and have 5 people doing the show with me. It's my show. I own it. And I may at some point decide to add a small crew to work with me, but I don't need, 6 people to make a show work. And always be able to talk to, this person, that person, my producer, my producer's assistant, all these different people. But if you want to be entertained, I promise you, Pat McAfee show will entertain you. If you want to be informed, good luck. You're not getting it there. He gets a couple of good writers on. Actually, he gets a few good writers on because they know there's a platform and a lot of people will see it. And he gets Aaron Rodgers every week because Aaron knows that he's not going to be asked anything wildly difficult or with some huge follow-up question. It's, hey, Aaron, what do you think of this? Oh, okay, on to the next thing. It's not going to be a hard-hitting interview. That's just not what he is. Entertaining? Absolutely. I've watched him. And I've watched him because he's entertaining. Sometimes I just want to be entertained. Sometimes a monkey banging the cymbals together, it makes a little kid laugh. I mean, that's all there is to it. Anyways, not to spend too much time on that tonight, but the Rodgers thing bothers me. Because Rodgers can go after the media, but if Rodgers goes after the media and, says what he said, oh, Colin Cowherd said, I'm using drugs and all of that stuff. Well, I mean, the reality is, if he can go after the media, why can't the media fire back? Why can't people hosting talk shows fire back? And I'm sure Colin Cowherd will probably have something to say about it tomorrow. And I've known Colin a long time. I've got some NBA items to get to. I'll get to them in the next hour. Now, I said somebody had called in and they didn't want to come on the air. And I'll give the person credit. They called back in. So I will always put somebody on the air. I don't care if they agree with me or disagree with me. I respect anybody's opinion. That's all this is at the end of the day. We're just out here giving our opinions. And you can choose to like what I have to say or not like what I have to say. I don't really care. My job is to come on the air and tell you what I think about things. So I will take Thunderman, who I believe is in, I want to say Oklahoma City. If I'm wrong, I apologize for that, Thunderman. Go ahead. You're on with Jason Page on the Cash In. No, and maybe, and you know what? Hey, Thunderman, if Thunderman's still there, let him stay on, because maybe stoner is the wrong word. Maybe stoner is the wrong word. But he's clearly somebody that likes to experiment with things that are outside the box. He did that when it came to his COVID remedy because he said he was allergic to something that was in the COVID shot, so he had to go with something else, and he didn't want to use the Johnson & Johnson, so he had his own, immune. Yeah. So maybe stoner is the wrong word. I don't know what the right word would be. I don't know. Again, he clearly likes to experiment with alternative chemicals, if you will. Yeah. Thunderman. Appreciate the call, Thunderman. And look, here's the reality too. And I think Thunderman accurately points this out. For a guy that doesn't care what people think, Aaron Rodgers complains a lot about what people think. And I've got news for you. I've done this for 25 years. I just turned 45. Today's my birthday. I've done it actually for 27 years, since I was 18. So more than half of my life has been spent in this medium. And let me tell you something. The people that care the most are the ones that say they don't. I'm telling you. I can go through so many people that I've worked with and for in this industry who talk about the fact that they don't care, and they're the biggest snowflakes around. I promise you, one day I'll write a book about it and tell all the stories. Frankly, I should write it now because I truly don't care. All right, we'll come back and wrap up the hour. Maybe we'll find that Giancarlo Stanton game-winning grand slam. I'm Jason Page. It's the Cash In on Sports Map Radio. Oh, look at you. Actually, you know what? I'm not doing this to be a jerk. I'm going to play it on this end, and the reason is if you play it on yours, my video streaming audience can't hear it. So don't worry about it. I have it right here. That was cool that he called back. Yeah, I've never really cared one way or another because I'm capable of carrying a show by myself. Oh, yeah. Yeah. People that need to rely on calls are people that don't properly prepare. They throw out a topic. No, this is the truth. They throw out a topic, they put out a question, and then they just sit there and wait for the phones to ring. That's it. Oh, yeah, of course. Yeah, if I'm listening to a sports talk show, I'm listening to hear. I mean, I can go to a sports bar. I can go to, and hear the opinions of some Yahoo. Yeah. And I'll take calls if they're good calls or compelling. But that's why I always tell whoever's screening the calls to be selective. I mean, McAfee and I got into it on Twitter last year. Yeah. Because I called him out for basically lobbing softballs at Aaron Rodgers. Well, actually, he's buddies with A.J. Hawk. That's what it has a lot to do with. That's what got the tie-in. So anyway, we're just talking to our producer, John, in Houston, talking about Pat McAfee. I am Jason. Thanks for being with us. I said it was a wild ending to the Yankees' 9-8 win over the Pittsburgh Pirates. Yankees trailed 8-4 going to the bottom of the ninth. Aaron Judge led off with his 60th home run of the season, 95 years after Babe Ruth hit 60 for the Yankees. Aaron Judge has now done it. So the Yankees trailed 8-5, nobody out. All of a sudden, Anthony Rizzo doubles, a walk, a base hit, bases are loaded. Giancarlo Stanton comes up, and he is mired in a horrific slump since coming off the injury list. This happens.
Home run. Now the Yankees are trying to win the game. That one's drilled to left field. Is it high enough? See ya! A walk-off grand slam, and the Yankees win. Judge hit 60, and the Yankees win in walk-off fashion.
Simply unreal. I mean, you can't make this stuff up. And Aaron Judge was out there jumping around like a little leaguer, celebrating for his teammate. And if you want to know what makes Aaron Judge the future captain of the New York Yankees, that ninth inning was all you needed. Hits his 60th home run. He's threatening to win a Triple Crown. They get a walk-off grand slam. And he's out there celebrating with the rest of his teammates in a fashion that is reminiscent of our Little League days. We got another hour or two. Well, two of them, in fact. I'm Jason Page. Hang with us. Lots more to do on the Cash In on Sports Map Radio. Sure. As we continue on this Tuesday edition of the show, one of the big stories of Week 2 in the NFL were the monumental collapses of several teams, and that would include, yes, the Cleveland Browns, who And another hour starts right now on SportsMap Radio and the SportsMap Radio app. Flanked by producer-engineer John Belmer. Taking care of things in Houston tonight. Boy, oh boy, what a night. When you least expected it, you got history in New York, and then you had a wild come-from-behind win. The Yankees going into that ninth inning were plus 1240 as an underdog on the live line. I don't know anybody that would have been crazy enough to bet them in that spot. But plus 1240. If you put $100 on it, you would have won 12 grand. Congratulations. It's wild. All right, you heard the TV calls from Michael Kay on the Yes Network. This is what it sounded like on Yankees radio from John Sterling on WFAN. This is the Judge 60th home run. Take a listen. I promise. No, I know you can't hear anything. It's coming. Hold on. I will find it. So I do promise you, I do have it. All right, so here is Judge hitting number 60 just a short time ago at Yankee Stadium in a historic night in the Bronx.
3-1. Swung on it. There it goes. Deep left. It is high. It is far. It is gone. He's tied the Babe. It's a Judgian blast. His 60th home run of the year. Wow. All rise. Here comes the Judge.
And on the screen is a picture of Aaron Judge superimposed over the Babe. Fastball right down the middle.
John Sterling. Susan Waldman with the call. We're back with more on SportsMap Radio. I'm Jason Page. It's the Cash In. Man. Rolling along in this second hour of the show. Thanks to everybody who's reached out on Twitter tonight at the back page to wish me a happy birthday. Birthday. I've never been a big fan of birthdays. Does that make me a bad guy, John? And when you how old are you, John? If you don't mind me asking on the air, how old are you, John? Oh, geez, sweet Jesus. 30. God, 30. Yeah, I mean, I'm 30. I mean, when I was 30, let's see, 14 years ago, 2008, I just arrived in Hartford, Connecticut to host Afternoon Drive for a ESPN radio affiliate there. Wow. That's how long ago that was. But yeah, I mean, 45. Man, it's hard to believe. Yeah, no, listen, I'm midlife. I mean, and the first 45 years, it felt like it took a long time to get to 45. So I'm hoping the last 45 takes a really long time too. So thank you to everybody reaching out. If you're watching on the Facebook stream, you can just look for the Cash In on Facebook or just go to my facebook.com/the Jason Page. You can watch the show there. And if you got a comment, you can leave it there. Keith, watching on the stream, said, do your listeners know at one point you were an ace on the mound? I mean, I was a pitcher in high school, but I wasn't that good. I mean, got a few people out, but it's about as good as it was getting for me. If I could have gone, the sad part is if I had a chance to ever go pro in anything, it would have actually been bowling. But those my best years in that sport are beyond me too. And I know if I even say bowling's a sport, some people are going to get all chapped and get upset at me. Oh, you could still be good at it at 65. Norm Duke just retired, and he won a couple of titles, I think, when he was 63 or 64 on the PBA Tour. So, I mean, you could do that forever. I bowl in leagues with guys that are 25 years older than me, and they're still kicking my you-know-what. They can bowl. Some of these guys, they can bowl forever. Oh, no, absolutely. Big news tonight is the Yankees. Aaron Judge hit his 60th home run. We played the highlight earlier before. What's even crazier about that game, though, is Judge hits his 60th. The Yankees trail 8-4 going into the bottom of the ninth. Judge hits his 60th. It's 8-5. And then the Yankees are able to load the bases in the bottom of the ninth. And lo and behold, Giancarlo Stanton came up with the bases loaded and hit a grand slam. Walked it off for the Yankees. And John Sterling, I think, probably lost his mind. Amazing. Again, you can't make this stuff up. Here's the I got to do this because I got to hear. I didn't get to hear it. I got to hear what John Sterling must have sounded like on the Grand Slam, because he was borderline incoherent on the Judge 60th home run. Here's the Stanton blast to win the game. Here we go.
Swung on, drilled to deep left. That ball is going to be gone. A grand slam to win the game. A no one out, bases loaded grand slam, bottom of the ninth. And the Yankees have come back in the ninth inning with 5 runs to win the game 9-8. Stanton finally delivered a bullet line drive in the left field seats. Giancarlo non si posta Barlow, a Stantonian home run, a bullet line drive in the left field seats. What an inning. Judge homers to make it 8-5. Rizzo doubles, Torres walks, Donaldson bloops a single, and Stanton hits a grand slam in the left field seats to win the game 9-8. I don't know if it's the greatest Yankee win of the year, but baby, it's right there.
You know what? This is probably going to be John Sterling's last year calling the Yankees. He's the longtime play-by-play voice. And I'll tell you a funny story about John Sterling, not to go down like memory lane here, because I want to talk about Justin Fields. But John Sterling was the first interview I ever did covering a Major League Baseball game the day before my 21st birthday, September 19th, 1998. It was at Camden Yards. I was working for a little hole-in-the-wall radio station in Maryland, and I was able to set it up in advance, and I interviewed John Sterling sitting in the front row of an empty Camden Yards in the middle of the afternoon. I interviewed John Sterling. So he's always going to have, it's one of those things where he's kind of got a place in my heart, because I got to interview, the play-by-play voice of the team I grew up rooting for. I'm 20 years old sitting in Camden Yards getting ready to cover my first Major League Baseball game. And I got to tell you, when I go cover a Major League Baseball game or a live sporting event now, I still feel the same way about having the privilege to go cover it as I did 27 years ago, or in this case, 24 years ago, when I covered my first one. It's just wild. It really is. And I count myself as lucky. So, yeah, there you go. Trip down memory lane. We'll be joined in a few minutes. I don't have enough time to get to it here because I got to break early, because we got we're going to be joined by somebody who covers the Cleveland Browns. Chris Easterling of the Akron Beacon Journal covers the Browns. Because if there was the exhilaration of week 2 in the NFL, and that was Miami and the crazy come-from-behind win in Baltimore, trailing by 21 in the fourth quarter, if that's the high end of week 2 in the NFL, the low end, there's 2 spots you can look at. One is if you were Baltimore, obviously. The other would be what happened in Cleveland with the Browns, who were up big on the Jets, only to have Nick Chubb run in a ball for a touchdown when if he had taken a knee, the Browns could have run out the clock. Amari Cooper not being able to handle a onside kick. And then Joe Flacco turning back the clock like it was 7 years ago. And the Jets winning in the most improbable fashion in Cleveland over the Browns. Missed extra points for Cleveland. It was just awful all the way around. And the Browns are 1-1. They're playing with Jacoby Brissett at quarterback until Deshaun Watson gets back from his suspension. And it'll be very interesting to watch what happens over the next several games with Cleveland. They have a short week, and the Pittsburgh Steelers coming up on Thursday night. We'll talk about it with Chris Easterling coming up in a minute. I'm Jason Page. We'll get into the Browns with Chris as we continue on the SportsMap Radio Network. Same thing on this end. Hopefully it times out as well as the last one did, which was just dumb luck. As we continue on this Tuesday edition of the show, one of the big stories of Week 2 in the NFL were the monumental collapses of several teams, and that would include, yes, the Cleveland Browns, who coughed up a lead late to the New York Jets. I think they were, at one point late in that fourth quarter, were a 99. As we continue. As we continue on this Tuesday edition of the show, one of the big stories of Week 2 in the NFL were the monumental collapses of several teams, and that would include, yes, the Cleveland Browns, who coughed up a lead late to the New York Jets. I think they were, at one point late in that fourth quarter, were a 99.9% favorite to beat the Jets. They still managed to figure out a way to lose. Just a confluence of things going wrong down the stretch for them in that game. But they do have a quick turnaround this week, taking on the Steelers. Let's talk about it with Chris Easterling of the Akron Beacon Journal, who joins us here on the Cash In Sports Map Radio and the Sports Map Radio app. Chris, how much blame goes to Kevin Stefanski? How much to Nick Chubb? I mean, how do you start placing blame in this sort of situation?
Blame number one starts with the secondary. I think it starts with the secondary because, quite frankly, you're in this position because the secondary couldn't cover. I mean, for the secondary couldn't cover a deep route. They give up a 66-yard touchdown to Corey Davis. Where Denzel Ward and Grant Delpit aren't not just on the same page. They're not in the same book. They may not even be in the same library when it comes to on that play because, and it's been a problem. You know, I know. Get back to the game specifically in a second, but for 2 weeks now, this has been a situation where this Browns secondary has allowed the opponent has turned what should have been a comfortable win into, if not a game where they had to rally for a 58-yard field goal to win at the Horn or just before the Horn in Carolina, to a loss on Sunday because they blew coverages, like basic miscommunications and fundamentals in the secondary. And that's been the biggest thing that I think of all the other things, if my family's got a background in running a funeral home. So death certificates. I'm aware of death certificates. You look on a death certificate, there is the primary cause of death. And then there's like contributing factors. The primary cause of death has been the performance of the secondary. And the contributing factors were Amari Cooper not sort of being lackadaisical, for lack of a better term, on an onside kick, because I think they thought it was going to go one way, and instead they kicked it toward Amari, and he just sort of stared at it and gave the Jets a chance to recover it. And then you mentioned Nick Chubb, and this is the flashpoint for Cleveland fans the last couple of days, because it's hard to blame Nick Chubb because he scores 3 touchdowns. He's beloved here. I mean, of all the players on the team, he may be the most beloved Browns player currently, just because of how hard he runs and all of that. And you obviously say, yeah, you see an open lane to the end zone, go get it. But at the same time, game situation, 2 years ago against Houston, he was, we were throwing bouquets his way because he knew to get down instead of scoring, so they could just kneel out the game and preserve a close win. Now, in that case, Kevin Stefanski had told them, get down. In this case, Stefanski has said multiple times, and players have said multiple times, that was not communicated in this instance. And they, Nick Chubb scores with 1:55 left to put them up 13 because Cade York misses the extra point. And it just kind of, it opens, instead of, if he just goes down at the 2, they got a first down, it's under the 2-minute warning, kneel it out. But they didn't. And what happened next joins a long list of infamous meltdowns by the Cleveland Browns over the last 24 years.
Is the short week the perfect elixir for this kind of loss? I would think it is, to be able to get right back on the horse and not really have that much time to dwell on this and potentially get a win against a Steelers team that, by all accounts, the Browns should be better than. I mean, is this sort of the perfect turnaround week for them?
Yeah, I mean, you talk to the players, we only really, we had, some Zoom opportunities yesterday virtually, and then today we were in person with them. And then even, Sunday afternoon in the locker room, they all said, yeah, it's good. We don't get to dwell on this. We can get right back on the horse. And not just that, it's Pittsburgh, which, in Northeast Ohio, that's a huge game. For Browns fans, the Browns players here, I don't know how big NFL rivalries are anymore in the era of free agency and everything, but you hear enough about what playing Pittsburgh means when you're as a Browns player that you at least say the right things, that you give the right lip service to, the Browns-Steelers rivalry. So it kind of falls in a perfect spot, but then right before practice today, Joel Bitonio not practicing as he's recovering from a bicep injury, and maybe even Jadeveon Clowney is out because of an ankle injury he suffered on Sunday. And then we find out Myles Garrett is a will see from Kevin Stefanski on playing Thursday because of some kind of neck issue. So, it's always something. If they get Bitonio, if they get Myles, they're not going to get Jadeveon. But if they get those two guys in the lineup, I like their chances better against the Steelers. But if Myles Garrett especially doesn't play, I'm not saying they can't win, but it just makes the task tougher because of the struggles you've had in the back end of that defense. And you're basically going to have rookies out there at both ends trying to rush Admittedly, it's not Big Ben anymore. It's Mitch Trubisky.
What are and we're talking with Chris Easterling of the Akron Beacon Journal, covers the Browns, joins us here on the Cash In on Sports Map Radio. What are the early reviews on Brissett with this team? I mean, week one, he wasn't too sharp. The completion percentage wasn't great, but they found a way to get a win, so you're kind of able to gloss it over a little bit. He actually played really well in this game against the Jets. He was 22 of 27, 229 yards passing. The QBR was decent. What are the early reviews on him through two games?
I think that's maybe the biggest thing that hurts about if you're a Browns fan or in that building on, coming out of Sunday is you got a really good Jacoby Brissett game. He was locked in and played well, and you lost the game against a team that wasn't one of the tougher teams, at least on paper, that you're going to see this team. But, I think by and large, fans have he is who he is, and you come to expect he doesn't pretend he's somebody he's not. He knows who he is, and I think there's just been some sort of a reluctant acceptance that, we're going to deal with the good and we're going to deal with the bad with Jacoby Brissett. And to see what you saw out of him on Sunday, I think gave some Browns fans some hope that, hey, he's on the same page with Amari Cooper, which is great. The week before he found Donovan Peoples-Jones at least and got into some sort of rhythm. You're basically just banking on give us a professional performance at the quarterback spot. You don't have to be Patrick Mahomes because you're not. But please, dear God, don't be Surgeon Wynn or any of the litany of the disasters who have manned that position since the franchise was reborn in 1999. So, I think he gives them a chance, if nothing else, especially with the running game that they have. He gives them a chance every week, at least when they're – we'll see. They have a stretch coming up after Atlanta in week 4 that just is a murderer's row. Basically, October through November is just, it may be the most brutal stretch of the NFL, to be quite frank. And you're asking Jacoby Brissett to weather it, but at least demeanor-wise, I think I don't think it's going to rattle him. It's just a question if the talent gap at the quarterback spot over that stretch catches up to them.
You get a fan arrested after throwing a bottle at the Browns owner, Jimmy Haslam. Is the organization saying much beyond what's going on in terms of the investigation and banning this guy from the stadium?
No, I mean, I actually saw the police report. Cleveland police, he didn't even get out of the stadium before they apprehended him and detained him, and they booked him on 3 misdemeanor charges of assault, failure to comply, unlawful failure, some fancy legal term, and disorderly conduct. I mean, he was intoxicated. That's all they're really going to say. I mean, but you wonder, it's evidence of a frustration that I think does exist within this fan base, because it's like 2 steps forward, 3 steps back. With every time this organization seems to take a step forward, something happens and it just knocks them backwards. And then you throw in, I think, a certain frustration with the ownership itself that, it's been a lot of, it's hard to even find the right word to describe the Haslam ownership with regards to the Browns the last decade. But, I think it's an isolated incident, to be perfectly honest. I mean, it's not good. It's not a good look. You don't want your fans throwing things onto the field. My God, I mean, if any city knows that, they have a term called Bottlegate, 2001 against Jacksonville. I mean, the fans pelted the field with bottles after they got a call overturned in the game. So at least it was only one, and hopefully, and I believe it'll be an isolated incident. But no, I think for all involved, I think the team like, look, we know who the fan is. We're fanning the fan. Let's keep it an isolated incident and move on. I don't think they really want to draw much more attention to it than it really turned into.
Always a good job, Chris Easterling, Akron Beacon Journal. Never a dull moment in Cleveland when it comes to the Browns. Appreciate the time, my man. Enjoy the rest of the week.
Hey, thanks for having me on, Jason.
With Chris Easterling, who I got to speak to just before we came on the air today and talk about the Browns situation. And again, best elixir for that kind of loss. Quick turnaround. No time to think about it. Playing Thursday night against a division rival. More to do on this Tuesday edition of The Cash In. I'm Jason Page. Glad you're hanging out with us on Sports Map Radio. Timed out good. Hold on one second. Sorry, what were you saying? Nah. I'm so used to I'm kind of a clock Nazi, so I'm really anal when it comes to knowing where we are in the clock. That's like when I talk to people in TV all the time, and the first few times I did TV, I'd have a program director or an executive producer or somebody, and they'd say, he's like, it's so unusual to find somebody who can read off of a teleprompter. And I'm like, what? And they're like, you'd be amazed how many people work in TV for a living and don't know how to read off of a teleprompter. And I was like, wow. See, to me it is. Yeah, it really is. You think slowly. Thanks for being with us. SportsMap Radio Network, the SportsMap app. You can watch the show on our Twitch feed, Jason Page 77. Can also watch the show on our Decibel 88 Facebook channel, Twitter at the back page. The show is there. Yeah, we got a lot of places you can watch. So anyway, riding solo tonight. Executive producer Vlad is not here. He had to go to a concert. Yes, he blew me off for a concert. But here's the thing, and I can't get on him for it. It was planned long before we had announced this show that we were going to be doing. So I can't blame the guy. And it was Wu-Tang. He's going to see Wu-Tang Clan. How could I ever knock a guy for that? Yeah, well, I mean, it's Wu-Tang. I mean, and if you're of a certain age, and as Vlad is, which is the same, he's basically a year younger than me. He's only like a couple months younger than me. You remember the Wu-Tang Clan. It's not my cup of tea. It's not my flavor of soda, but, it's what he wants to go see. So there you have it. So anyway, I wanted to talk about Justin Fields because, I don't mean to bang on the guy because he does not have the greatest supporting cast around him. But the reality is this. You cannot be a National Football League team, as the Chicago Bears are, one of the most storied franchises in the history of the league. The Monsters of the Midway. You cannot possibly have an NFL franchise and have a quarterback in the first 2 games of the season throw the ball a combined 28 times. And by the way, only complete a little over 50% of his passes. He was 7 of 11 for 70 yards against Green Bay. And it's not like he was running it all over the place. He only had 8 carries for 20 yards. And in the win over San Francisco in the muck and the mire, he was 8 of 17 passing for 121 yards. And he ran it for 28 yards. This is not a viable strategy for an NFL team to have this at the quarterback position. And last year, there were several games where he barely threw the ball. And when he does throw the ball, he doesn't throw it particularly well. And at some point, if you're the Chicago Bears, either it's about winning games or you're tanking to go get a draft pick and go get another quarterback because you figured out Justin Fields isn't the answer. And that's fine if that's the decision you've made. And not that you can admit that to a fan base, but at some point, the fan base is going to get smart to the fact that you're clearly tanking to go get a better quarterback to eventually replace Justin Fields, who is obviously not the answer. And all you can do is hope, for the sake of whoever that next quarterback is, that the team surrounds him with something more than David Montgomery to throw the football to or hand the football to, because they've got nothing around Justin Fields. He has not been set up to succeed, and I talk about this all the time in sports. Job of a owner, give the GM the tools to succeed. Money, resources, scouting, whatever. Job of a GM is to give the head coach what he needs. Assistants, technology, facilities. Give that head coach an opportunity to succeed. Job of a head coach, give your players the best chance to succeed. A coherent game plan, a strategy. Don't be like Nathaniel Hackett on a Monday Night Football game and opt for a 63-yard field goal when you have a $250 million quarterback. You get the picture. That's the job right down the line from owner to head coach. And I don't think anybody can look in the mirror in the Bears organization and say, we've given Justin Fields the best possible chance to succeed as the starting quarterback of the Chicago Bears. Nobody can in right mind say that. And that a guy who's 2 games into his second season in the league has basically already been put into a position where he's going to wind up failing. And maybe he'll get another shot somewhere in the league. Maybe. But probably not. Guys like Geno Smith are few and far between. Geno Smith was the starting quarterback for the Jets 100 years ago. It was 7 or 8 years ago. And it didn't work out there. And part of the reason why was the Jets never gave Geno Smith the best possible chance to succeed. because it's the Jets, and that's what the Jets do. And now all these years later, here is this opportunity for Geno Smith to be the starting quarterback in Seattle for the Seahawks. And he gets a chance to start because the team decides to deal away Russell Wilson. And here's Geno Smith. And very few, it's the exception. It just doesn't happen. Or like Josh McCown a few years back when he was, after all these years, he got an opportunity to start again. It was like a decade later, and he just hung around the league long enough. Opportunity struck, he got to start. Tommy Maddox, years ago with the Steelers, got an opportunity to start again. I think he went and played in like the XFL and stuff like that. Got an opportunity to start again, was able to make it count. Charlie Batch. I could probably count 4 or 5 times over the last 25 years that you see examples like this. And look, maybe Justin Fields will be able to hang around the league long enough and improve his craft and get an opportunity to start again somewhere. But the odds have shown and the statistics have shown that opportunities like that are few and far between. It just doesn't happen. So in all likelihood, this year as a starting quarterback for Justin Fields will be his last. Because they got to blame somebody. The GM's not going to fire himself. And oftentimes it isn't players that get the blame. It's a head coach, it's a GM, but they just hired a new head coach. They just brought in new management. They're not blowing those guys out. So Justin Fields will take the blame. Again, whether or not Justin Fields is the problem or not. But he hasn't been surrounded with good talent. But the answer is not, hey, let's throw the ball 28 times over 2 games. I mean, whether he's got the talent or not, you've got to find out if he can make the throws. If guys can't catch the ball, they can't catch the ball. We're smart enough to see the film and know with our own eyes whether it's the quarterback or the talent around him. But if you're not going to let Justin Fields throw the ball, well, then there isn't much point. I mean, start Trevor Siemian. At least you know what he is. You know he can make the NFL throws. But you can't honestly and objectively observe and study and try to figure out what Justin Fields is and whether or not he can play in this league if you throw the ball 28 times over the course of 2 games. It's the Sports Map Radio Network. I'm Jason Page. You're welcome to chime in. 800-224-2004, 800-224-2004. You can also tweet at the show, at the back page. Thank you to everybody who's sent me a birthday greeting today. Thanks for reminding me that I'm 45. I am officially midlife. Because, basically life expectancy, by the time I'm gone, life expectancy will probably be around 90. I know a lot of people on my side of the family live to be that old. So I'm basically right at midlife. I had my midlife crisis at 40, but I like to think that 45 is my midlife. And like I was saying before, it took forever to get to 45, so I'm hoping it takes just as long to get to 90. Yes, absolutely. My midlife crisis at 40 was I was always somebody who never cared about getting older. I didn't care that I was losing my hair, if I got a little chubby, because in my mind, I was still 25. So it never bothered me. The day I turned 40, I don't know what happened, but something snapped. It was 2017. I was it's a long story, but I was supposed to take a sports radio job in San Francisco. New PD came in. After I got hired, decided to blow me out because I was the last hire of the old regime, blah, blah, blah. And then, like 2 weeks later, I turned 40. I'm 40. I'm unemployed. I'm sleeping on a friend's couch in Oakland, right down the street from Fruitvale Station. And I literally had a mental breakdown. And I spent, no joke when I say this, I spent 1 year in my bed eating food. I had a work from home job before those were popular in COVID. I had a work from home job. I sat in my bed. I got enormously overweight. And all I did was eat and work from home in my bed. I didn't go anywhere. I literally just shut out everything in my life. I just had a total breakdown. I was like, oh my God, I'm 40. I just had this amazing career. I was nationally syndicated. I had a show. I thought, hey, the whole rest of my life is still ahead of me. And here I was crashing on a friend's couch in the Bay Area with no prospects or anything. And I was 40 and I freaked out. And it literally lasted 1 year. And then as quickly as it happened, I turned 41 and I snapped out of it. But I definitely had a wasted year from 40 to 41. No, there's no getting around it. I had a wasted year from 40 to 41. You happy? Now you got it out of me, John. No, I couldn't afford it. It was terrible. I couldn't afford it. Luckily I had a car when I came out to the Bay Area. Otherwise I would have been screwed. But I was going to A's games every once in a while with like 7,000 people in the stands, sitting on the dugout for like $20 because it's an A's game and nobody wants the tickets. Oh, it was great. I'm looking up at the press box, waving to all my friends who are working in the press box at the game while I'm just sitting there watching some sad A's game. It was terrible. Getting like stale popcorn for $4. It's dollar dog night. Oh, it was awful. It was 40 to 41 was literally one of the worst years of my life. And then it all got better. I can't even tell you why. It just all got better. So I got something funny I want to talk about here in a minute. So tonight, history was made in New York. We talked about it, the 60th home run for Aaron Judge, which, by the way, he's done in 147 games. Babe Ruth hit 60 for over the course of a 154-game season. So there are some people that are going to look and say, Aaron Judge is the real home run king. And for a while, Roger Maris's home run mark of 61 was treated with an asterisk, and only years later did they remove the asterisk because he did it in 162 games. Now Judge has done it in 147. He's hit 60 home runs. So he has a chance to break the American League record and what most people still view as the all-time record of a single home run season at 61. He has a chance to do it in less than 154 games. I don't know if it'll happen, but he's got a chance. But there's an interesting story tonight about what happened regarding the 60th home run ball that Aaron Judge hit. I want to talk about that. And it leads me into a different topic that we'll get to as we continue with this hour of The Cash In. I'm Jason Page at SportsMap Radio. All right, getting set to wrap up this hour of the show. So Aaron Judge hit his 60th home run tonight, 434 feet, I believe, into the Yankee left field bleachers. And the fan who caught it willingly gave up that 60th home run ball. Aaron Judge got it back. 4 fans shared a clubhouse meet and greet that includes photos with Judge. They each got signed balls, and the fan who caught the ball got a signed bat. Can I be honest here? And John, you can play along here. That's not enough. You got to hold out for more than that. I mean, in a crowd of 40-something thousand people, you get the golden ticket, you get the 60th home run ball. Yeah, it's not 61 or 62, but it's still a history-making ball. You've got to hold out and get more than a couple of autographed balls and a meet and greet. My God. Yankees had no issues getting it back, according to the people who cover the team. Fan who caught it, his friends were there with him. I mean, got to meet and talk with Judge for a few moments? I want to be in the dugout next game. I mean, come on. I want to watch BP the next day. I want a suite. I mean, come on, do something. More than just, yeah, all right, couple of autographs. I got to meet Aaron Judge. Exactly, John. I want season tickets. I mean, you got to give me something. It's number 60. It's terrible. You got to do better than that. I'm just saying. But apparently that was enough for one fan. There's a reason I bring this up, though, and I'll get to it coming up in the next hour of the show. I got a lot to run through in the next hour. Maybe I'll hold some stuff over until Wednesday, too. I'm Jason Page. A whole nother hour of the cash-in is waiting for you on the other side on Sports Map Radio and the Sports Map Radio app. Stay with us. It starts with season tickets. That's where the negotiation begins. Exactly. Guy gave it up way too easy. I'm not saying hold it hostage, but you got to get more than that. Yeah. You got to wait. You got to be like, you know what? I'm going to go home and sleep on it. Yeah, you know what my answer would be? You know what my answer would be to that? If it's not that important, you wouldn't be asking for it. Oh, yeah. $700? Yeah, it's a good question. So the 49ers today brought in a bunch of quarterbacks because they need somebody for like practice squad and to back up. And I'm friends on LinkedIn with the guy that got put on the practice squad. This total no name named Kurt Benkert. Yeah, I don't know who he. If you had him making my drink at Starbucks, I wouldn't know who he was. Nah, not gonna happen. Nobody's bringing him in. No, it makes me upset. It makes me upset, but nobody's giving him a shot. You'll always hear it. Nah. Wow, Aaron Judge is officially in the lead for batting average. He's leading in the Triple Crown now, too. Wow. Yeah, I didn't realize tonight with that home run, he actually took the lead in batting average. Wow, that's crazy. It's nuts. It's absolutely nuts. What he is doing is just, you cannot talk about it enough. And I know some people will say, oh, it's baseball and you should be talking about football. But, I mean, this is a once-in-a-generation sort of season he's having. And I don't know why. I know he had that thing that he did there, but I mean, in general, he's one of the classiest guys you're going to meet in the sport. Wow. Aaron Judge is leading in all three now. 316, he's leading in batting average. 60 home runs, 128 RBIs. Wow. It's crazy. Believe it or not, he isn't. There's a lot of people out there that want to give it to Ohtani. Listen, I agree, but there are people that want to. Yeah, if it's the best player award. But it's not. It's most valuable player. And the Angels haven't made the playoffs in 8 years. If with or without Ohtani, they suck. See, this is the problem with this setup, and I haven't figured out how to fix it. Is the fact that people can't hear you on the video stream. Yeah, I don't know. But they can't. Yeah, because you hear a loop back. Like if I do this, then they can hear it, but you get a loop back. And I haven't figured out. I mean, it took every bit of know-how just to get this thing working through my Rodecaster Pro. I love the Rodecaster. It's terrific. Oh, I love it. And they just came out with a new one, too, a new model. Yeah, the Rodecaster 2. Nope, they came out with a Rodecaster 2. Oh, yay! Oh, yeah, I'm sure there's something in there that you can do. Final hour of a Tuesday/Wednesday show. It's not my birthday anymore on the East Coast. It's over, just like that. Oh, man. Been a fun show. I am on the West Coast. Did you say the worst coast? Oh, I thought you said the worst. Have you ever been to California? Yeah, it doesn't count. Yeah. If you don't remember it, it doesn't count. Producer John Belmer is working with me tonight. Vlad has the night off. Well-deserved, by the way. He's been doing a good job in the first couple of weeks of this new endeavor. By the way, one more Aaron Judge thing to throw out. I know I sound like an Aaron Judge sycophant tonight, and John, who's in Houston, is just rolling over because he's like, my God, we like the Astros here. Enough of the Aaron Judge stuff already. But, I mean, we're talking about a once-in-a-generation type of season from Aaron Judge. And it might even be a once in every couple of generation season that we're seeing from Aaron Judge. So I don't think you can talk about it enough. And I know people will say, well, it's the NFL that leads. And all people want to talk about is the NFL. You need to give more And I've talked a ton of NFL tonight, so it's not as if we haven't talked about it. Both of our guests were NFL-related guests. But, I mean, Aaron Judge right now, and credit to ESPN stats on this, Aaron Judge is the first player since Miguel Cabrera in 2012 to lead all 3 Triple Crown categories in September or later. And he's doing it. He now leads in batting average after tonight. He was 1 point behind coming in. Luis Arias had a bad night. Judge is at 316. He is 1 point better than Xander Bogaerts. He is 2 points better than Luis Arias. He has 60 home runs. He has 128 RBIs. You may not see, in this era of baseball, you may not see another season like this even in your lifetime. That's not hyperbole. Just go and look at the history of the game and where it's trending. It's fact. More to say about this and some NBA conversation as we continue in the final hour of the Cash In. I'm Jason Page. It's Sports Map Radio. That's what I thought you said. I was like, that's something somebody not from the West Coast would say. Did you call it the worst coast? I have to say, I love it out here. Yeah. Here's the thing. Bat Boy of the New Haven Ravens, 1994, greatest summer of my life. And I met Derek Jeter that summer. He was playing Double-A Albany. Yeah, he was playing for Double-A Albany. Oh, yeah. Yeah. Saw a lot of guys that wound up in the majors. A lot of guys. Craig, oh, yeah, it was incredible. It was a great summer. Manager for our team hated me, though. I got a great story about that. Oh, good song. DJ Maestro John Belmer just playing the hits, baby. Good to be with you on this Tuesday night / Wednesday edition of The Cash In. You want to weigh in on anything, it's 800-224-2004. 800-224-2004. What would you want if you caught Aaron Judge's 60th home run ball tonight? I'll even go a step further. What if you were the one to catch number 62? If you caught number 62 at Yankee Stadium sometime between now and Sunday, Yankees on this lengthy homestand this week, what would you ask for? Now, the guy who caught number 60 tonight, he was there with his 4 friends or 3 friends. They got to go into the clubhouse, get autographed baseballs. The guy who caught the ball also got an autographed bat. They got to talk to Judge for a few minutes, and then they were on their way. I think they sold themselves short. Producer John and I were talking about, we would have asked for at least something significantly more than that. I'm not saying hold the organization hostage for home run ball number 60, but if the Yankees didn't want to, give it up, I'd be like, hey, I'm going to go home and sleep on this. You see them panic real fast. They'd do everything but tie you down to get that 60th home run ball. So let's just say you got number 62. What would you want? 800-224-2004, 800-224-2004. And I know there are going to be some people out there that say, well, it means more to him than it does to you. And you should give it up. If you're a real fan, you'll give up the baseball. Well, no. Not when teams charge outrageous prices to go to these games. Not when you pay your hard-earned money to go. If you catch something that significant, you should cash in. It's like hitting the lottery to catch something that significant. So I'd love to know what people would do if they were in that situation. Now, keep this in mind. There are some examples of how these things have been handled. Tom Brady's 600th touchdown pass of his career. The guy who got it got Brady to cough up 1 Bitcoin. So Brady gave him a Bitcoin. At the time, that Bitcoin was $62,000. I hope he sold it then because now it's worth only about $13,000. So that didn't work out too well for him. In fact, it might have worked out better for Brady. But, there's been examples throughout the history of sports of guys who catch these landmark baseballs. And then what do you do? How far do you go there? Like I said, there have been fans who play hardball in these situations and say, I'm not giving it up unless I get A, B, or C. Just curious to know what you would give up or what you would want the team to give up. It certainly would have been more than these guys got for the 60th home run ball. And granted, it's not 61 or 62, but it is a pretty significant milestone baseball. All right, a couple things I want to get to in this hour of the show. We're going to look ahead at the Week 3 NFL lines of interest before we get to tomorrow and then the Thursday night football game and then Friday is Page's Picks, obviously. I want to look ahead at some of the Week 3 lines as it relates to the NFL. A quick thought on Anthony Edwards. We talked about this story a little bit last week, and then it got overshadowed by the Robert Sarver news, the majority owner of the Phoenix Suns, who was suspended for a year and fined $10 million by the NBA for a pattern of behavior over 18 years, misogyny, bigotry, comments that were racially insensitive, whatever you want to say. The whole litany of items against Robert Sarver. That overshadowed this Anthony Edwards story where he was hit with accusations and there was video of him getting in trouble for offensive and derogatory language on social media. Social media video was posted, anti-gay comments made by Edwards while he was observing a group of people standing on a sidewalk during a video in his Instagram story last week. Video was deleted. Edwards said his actions were inappropriate. He said the right things. Somebody probably wrote a statement for him. He's 21 years old. Some people will say, hey, would you want to be judged on anything you said when you were 21? But anybody who watched this video, I think, would be smart enough to know that the way Anthony Edwards directed his comments towards these gentlemen, and they didn't hear it, but it was just something he said that could be heard on the video. It wasn't like he yelled it out the window at them. But anybody who heard what he said can easily discern this is how this guy feels towards the LGBTQ community. And we were all curious to see, there's precedent around the league for how they handle these sorts of things and the kinds of fines that are given out in these situations. But in the case of the NBA this time around, they decided to fine Anthony Edwards for his transgressions $40,000. That's it. $40,000 for his offensive language towards these LGBTQ community members. And I guess I shouldn't even say community members, because I don't know if it was ever even established if they were, members of the LGBTQ community. One could probably make that assumption based on certain things in the video, but I don't know if that's ever even been established. It doesn't matter. What he said was obviously derogatory and, a type of language that you don't want to hear from your 21-year-old star player. But with all that being said, is $40,000 really the best the NBA can do in this spot? If you're trying to dissuade guys from behaving in a certain way and saying inappropriate things, if you're going to do that, is the way to do it to fine Anthony Edwards 0.37%? You heard me right. Not even 0.5%. 0.37% of his salary for the 2022-2023 season. You know how much money Anthony Edwards is going to make this year in Minnesota? $10.733 million. I'll do it better. $10,733,400. You're taking $40,000 out of the guy's pocket. What lesson is anybody going to learn from something like that? Let me tell you something. $10.7 million can buy your way out of the shame that you're going to feel for a couple of weeks before the media moves on from this story. But if the league said, you know what, Anthony Edwards, we're going to sit you for 10 games. I guarantee you the next guy that thinks about saying something like this on video is going to think about it a little longer. He might do it. Not saying he won't. But this league is getting so soft when it comes to how it punishes people. I mean, what is this league doing? You had another player speaking out on the Robert Sarver situation. Draymond Green may have come up with, in my mind, the best solution to this whole thing. Because other NBA owners, since the Robert Sarver story, have gone catatonic. They aren't saying a word right now about this situation with Robert Sarver. I don't hear Mark Cuban, who talks about everything. I don't hear James Dolan. I don't hear anybody. Jeannie Buss. I don't hear anybody talking about this situation and how the league should handle it. They're all staying quiet because none of them want anybody digging into their closets and probably finding things that they've said or ways that they've handled their organization. But to me, the NBA has gone NFL soft when it comes to dealing with misconduct in general, not just from players, from owners, from anybody associated with the league. It's the league that capitulates to China, and all you got to do is look up the human rights abuses in China. and this is a league that's in bed with them. Everybody wants to talk about Live Golf. But the same people crying about Live Golf, which, by the way, they should, are the same people ignoring the NBA and its policy towards China, which is, hey, China, we'll take all your money and we'll shut up when it comes to your human rights abuses. It's maddening. It's positively maddening. And it's getting worse. 800-224-2004. 800-224-2004. I asked the question about how you would handle this 60-second home run ball if you caught it, or even if he caught 60. We'll take a quick timeout. We'll come back. We got a caller who wants to weigh in. And you can let me know, how would you handle it if you caught the 60th home run ball, or 61 or 62, any of these balls that the Yankees are going to want? 800-224-2004. Tweet at me at the back page. I am Jason Page. It's the Cash In on Sports Map Radio. Say it. Yeah, I know the name. Yep. If you missed it tonight, history in the Bronx. No, you have to take my word for it, though. There was history in the Bronx tonight. Yankees and the Pirates, and a special night with Aaron Judge hitting his 60th home run of the year, tying Babe Ruth's mark 95 years ago. I mean, just amazing stuff. All right, here it is.
The 3-1. Swung on that. There it goes. Deep left. It is high. It is far. It is gone. He's tied the Babe. It's a Judgian blast. His 60th home run of the year. Wow. All rise. Here comes the Judge.
And on the screen.
John Sterling with the call. Yankees Radio, WFAN. And we were asking the question earlier, what would you want in exchange for that baseball or the 61st or the 62nd, any of these landmark baseballs that the Yankees are going to want back from whoever catches them in the crowd? What would you want in return? The guy who caught this ball, him and his 4 friends got autographed baseballs from Judge, and the guy who caught the ball got an autographed bat, and they got to spend a few minutes with Judge in the clubhouse after the game. I thought that was the Yankees getting off easy. But I'm curious to know what you would do. Dave in Connecticut, listening on the Sports Map radio app. You're on with Jason Page on the Cash In. What's going on, Dave? Yeah. Was it in the Tampa Bay? Was that the one in Tampa Bay? I think it was. I think it was somebody hit a home run in Tampa Bay. And I think the fan was like basically holding the ball hostage, if I'm not mistaken. Yeah. $40 million a year next year. Yeah. Yeah, it's not going to happen. Yeah, and I mean season tickets, even if you just said season tickets in the bleachers next year, because they caught the ball in the bleachers, so they're bleacher creatures. They're probably going to games out there. Give them season tickets in the bleachers. It's like $40. I think they're like $40 a game or $30 a game to sit in the bleachers, and sometimes they go up or down based on who the opponent is. But give them season tickets in the bleachers. What's that? What's that to the Yankees? That's a drop in the bucket. They average 40,000 fans a game. Yeah, give them something. I agree, Dave. I appreciate the call. Yeah, I mean, you got to give them something. Who knows? Maybe they did. Maybe we'll find out the Yankees gave them something more. Oh, absolutely. Like I said, what's it to the Yankees? It's a drop in the bucket. I mean, them and the Dodgers are the 2 most valuable franchises in sports. I think they're like $6 or $7 billion. I mean, for crying out loud. These guys jumped at the first offer. It was like me when I got my first radio job offer in 1998, McMinnville, Oregon. Guy said, hey, $22,000 and all the free hot dogs you can want at the festival every year. Oh, man. I went home. My dad said, you're an idiot. You can't take that job. You can't afford to live on that much money. I can't? I was 20 years old. What the hell did I know? I was 19 years old. These kids were just probably excited. Oh, my God, I get to meet Aaron Judge. He's going to sign a baseball. Oh, my God. I mean, they got had, man. I'm telling you. Those guys got hoodwinked. They should have held out for more. Again, I'm not saying you hold out for like the moon and stars, but you got to at least get into the sky. You know what I mean? And they gave it up way too easy. 800-224-2004, 800-224-2004. You can tweet at the show at the back page if you've got a thought. On Twitter, if you feel so inclined, at the back page if you want to weigh in on what you would want for the Aaron Judge 62nd home run ball. And we might be jinxing it. I mean, maybe he doesn't get to 62. Maybe he goes cold. Teams are not pitching to him right now. And it's a good thing for him in terms of trying to win the Triple Crown. It's a bad thing because if teams aren't pitching to him, his average isn't going to move a lot. When he gets a hit, it's going to be more valuable because he's not getting as many at-bats because of the walks. It's going to help his batting average when he does get a hit. But, as far as home runs, the Pirates pitched around him basically all night tonight. And it was only in the ninth inning with the game 8-4 and a 3-1 pitch to Judge that they decided to pitch to him because there's no danger. I mean, I'm sure the Pirates never thought in their wildest imagination the Yankees were going to come back and win this game. They did, which was sort of the side story after Judge hit home run number 60 on the season. Anyways, Judge leads for the Triple Crown now. It's a season for the ages, and frankly, I hope more people will talk about it. I know it's an NFL week, and everybody wants to talk about the NFL, but what he's doing right now, this is out of this world. When you consider the next closest person to him in home runs is like 25 behind, I mean, he tied Babe Ruth tonight. This is Ruthian stuff that you're seeing from Aaron Judge right now. Talked a little bit about the NBA. And by the way, that Anthony Edwards story wasn't the only big news to come out of the NBA on Tuesday. The Celtics are going to be without Robert Williams for 4 to 6 weeks. The Time Lord, as he is called, is going to have knee surgery, his left knee, a procedure done fairly minor. Then again, let me put you under the knife and call it minor. 4 to 6 weeks to recover for him. It's the second knee surgery for Williams in the last 6 months. That is never a good sign for a player's longevity in this league. Previously had a procedure done on his meniscus back in March. Played through some pain in the playoffs. Another arthroscopic procedure coming up for him. Look for the Celtics to go and bring somebody in to potentially spell him or replace him for a while. A name I'm hearing is Dwight Howard. Dwight Howard could always find a home, man. You're 7 feet long, can still block shots, get up and down the floor. You'll always find a spot. You'll always find a spot somewhere in this league. Dwight Howard could probably play another 5 years as the kind of player he is at this stage of his career. Just because somebody's always going to need a big to play, 10 to 12 minutes a night. And you'll be able to do that if you're Dwight Howard and you play as little as he's playing. So I wanted to go through some of the NFL games for this week. I don't have a ton of time left in this segment, but I do want to go through some of the games that are going on this week and some of the more captivating lines. We talked earlier in the show about the Steelers and the Browns with Chris Easterling of the Akron Beacon Journal. And right now, the Cleveland Browns are a 4.5-point favorite over the Steelers. And it kind of goes to tell you what the odds makers in Vegas, or more appropriately in this case with FanDuel, kind of think of both of these teams right now. Because as bad as Pittsburgh is, and they are bad, I know they're 1-1, and both of these teams are 1-1, but the Steelers have major issues at quarterback. Jacoby Brissett is capable of playing and doing some things for you. It says a lot that the line is only 4.5 in Cleveland's favor. -4.5. And the Steelers aren't a good football team. Not a lot of confidence in Cleveland. We'll go through some of the other lines as well as we continue. I'm Jason Page. It's the Cash In. We're glad you're tuning in on a Tuesday night. Sports Map Radio Network. Yes. Yeah, his that works. Let's do that. Yep. Psh, 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 psh. Yes. Yeah, I actually liked this show a lot tonight. Plus, I'm trying to land this affiliate in Connecticut right now. Yeah. It's another band I've seen in concert. Only once did I see Poison, though. But they were good when I saw them. It's just a few years ago, too. They still sounded really good. A lot of guys in that band have had health issues, though. And it's the hard living of the 80s and 90s in a lot of those cases. And these guys just beat each other up. Life on the road, the drinking, the drugs, the women, all of that stuff. But really, I mean, well, here's the thing. Would you choose if you knew that you could live that crazy life for, let's just say, 20 years, but it meant you were checked out at 70? Like, that's as long as you're going to make it. If you're lucky, you're getting to 70. I mean, is that worth the trade-off? It's the deal you make with the devil. If the devil comes in and says, you could have it all, money, fame, women, drugs, men, if you want that, whatever, if you could have it all, but at 70, you're mine. Are you making that? Is John making that deal? Yeah, see, you're 30. That's why. All right. All right, there you go. John says he would make the trade-off. I don't know if I would. Now, but again, I say that because I'm 45. And if somebody told me I only had 25 years left, I'd feel like somebody just flipped what's the thing, the glass with the bottle and the sands coming through it. What's that called? The hourglass. The hourglass, yeah. I'd feel like somebody just flipped the hourglass on me and like time was running out. That was actually part of, you asked me earlier about the midlife crisis at 40. That was actually the line I used to always use with people was, for some reason at 40, it felt like somebody had flipped the hourglass and like the Wicked Witch in The Wizard of Oz. And she's like, when this runs out, you're going to die. That's how I felt at 40. That was sort of the freak out, was thinking that at 40, somebody had just flipped the hourglass. Now I kind of feel that way at 45. So hopefully I don't go into another crisis mode. All right, let's go through some of these NFL Week 3 odds here. The Steelers-Browns one is suspicious to me, with Cleveland minus 4.5. It feels to me like that should be maybe a point to a 1.5 higher, and it's not. And I find myself trying to figure out why. I know they've got some injuries, Myles Garrett, and maybe once those guys are cleared to play, maybe that line jumps up. I'm not sure, but it just feels like it should be higher. The Ravens in New England to take on the Patriots. I do not want to be the Patriots in this game. I mean, Lamar Jackson, that team, they are going to be coming out for blood on Sunday at 1 p.m. Eastern. With the Ravens minus 3, that game doesn't make a lot of sense to me either. And I would probably take the under, which is at 43.5. That feels really high. The Bills Dolphins is the big one. And Miami is a 5.5 point underdog at home, which tells you the respect that the bookies, and not the bookies, but the odds makers have, the books have, for the Buffalo Bills. That on the road, 2-2-0 teams. You've seen the way Miami's played, the excitement around Tagovailoa. The fact that they are still a 5.5 point underdog tells you a great deal about the belief of how good Buffalo is. And even at 5.5, I think I'd still take Buffalo. I think they're a touchdown better. At least a touchdown better. It wouldn't surprise me if they won by between 7 and 10 points. We'll see as the week progresses. The Saints and Panthers. Carolina is +3 at home. The Saints laid an absolute egg last week at home against the Buccaneers in a game that felt like it should have been a lot more competitive than it actually wound up being. Carolina, the loss last week to the Giants, they're 0-2. They don't look particularly good. I don't think I'd touch that game. I don't really trust either of those teams. This is another line that I find perplexing. As bad as the Colts have been, and as good as the Chiefs have been over the first 2 weeks, how on earth Indianapolis is only a 6.5 point underdog at home is beyond me. To me, that feels like a Kansas City rout. 6.5? You don't think the Chiefs are going to be a touchdown better even on the road against this hapless Indianapolis team that can't get out of their way through the first 2 weeks? A tie against Houston, a loss against Jacksonville, and they got shut out. Detroit and Minnesota. The Vikings looked like world beaters in week 1, and they couldn't do anything on part 2 of the Monday Night Football doubleheader. Detroit +5.5 on the road in Minnesota. Probably not a game I would touch. Detroit has looked much improved over the first 2 games. They're 1-1. They could easily be 2-0. The Vikings are 1-1. Probably a game I would stay away from. Philadelphia and Washington. The Eagles in Washington to take on the Commanders. Washington a 6.5 point underdog at home. And again, Philadelphia has looked like world beaters the first 2 weeks, and Jalen Hurts has been nothing short of sensational. Talk about 2 Alabama guys right now just tearing up the world in Tua and Jalen. And, Philadelphia only -6.5 on the road against this Commanders team. it just smells fishy to me. We'll see how the line moves throughout the week. Raiders and Titans. You've got Las Vegas that had a terrible loss at home. They're 0-2. You got people questioning, this team's saliency, so to speak. And I can understand why. They just haven't looked very good over the first 2 weeks under Josh McDaniel. Despite the fact that you got Devontae Adams, you coughed up a lead that you shouldn't have lost at home to Arizona. It's the Raiders -2.5 on the road in Tennessee. Probably a game I would stay away from. Houston and Chicago, the Texans and the Bears. And as down as I am on Justin Fields, I mean, and I know Houston has, been somewhat competitive. They had a tie in week 1. The reality is Houston is just a 3-point underdog on the road in Chicago against the Bears. But you are talking about two of the worst teams in the league. So I would say proceed at your own risk. The Jets at home coming off a stirring win in Cleveland against a Bengals team that has been fraught with problems over the first 2 weeks, has not looked good. A lot of people questioning whether there's some sort of hangover from last year's team that went to the Super Bowl. Cincinnati -4.5 in New York to take on a Jets team that could easily be 0-2 if not for Baltimore's defense just collapsing all over the place at the end of that Week 2 game. I would probably lean towards Cincinnati to lay the wood down on the Jets in this game if I was going to bet it, and we'll see when we get to Friday and Page's picks. The Jaguars are a surprising football team right now. I mean, their offense looked absolutely super. They are a 7-point underdog on the road in Los Angeles against the Chargers. And, the way the Chargers lost last week, got to see how Justin Herbert is feeling. Until I know more about that game, I probably wouldn't touch it. But right now, it's the Chargers -7. And how about the total in that game? It's almost as if they're expecting some fireworks. 47.5 is the number. It's one of the larger ones this week. 53.5 is the largest, Detroit and Minnesota. Atlanta on the road in Seattle to take on the Seahawks. The Falcons have, they've covered the first 2 games. I don't know if they cover this one on the road in Seattle, but give the Falcons credit. They've been in both of their games, even though they lost them. At home in Week 1, on the road in Los Angeles in Week 2. Falcons getting 1.5 in Seattle against the Seahawks. Too early for me to say on that one. It's not one that I have strong feelings on either way. Green Bay. They're 1-1. You take the win in Week 2. You always take a win where you can get it, but there is still a lot of work to be done for this team offensively. And you could say the same for the Buccaneers, which is where Green Bay's going. Take on Tom Brady and this Tampa Bay team. And Brady's made it known how frustrated he is with the way this offense has performed thus far. They go and bring in Cole Beasley, the 11-year veteran. And Tampa Bay is just a 1.5 favorite at home against Green Bay, which basically means on a neutral field, the odds makers like the Packers to win this game. I'm not sure I feel that strongly about it. I'd probably go with Tampa Bay. The home field will mean something in that game as well. I'll take the Buccaneers. They're 2-0 on the year. I think they go to 3-0. Rams in Arizona to take on the Cardinals. And we know what Arizona has kind of gone through the first 2 games. They had to pull one out of the fire to beat the Raiders in Week 2, and they got soundly beaten at home in Week 1 by the Chiefs. The Rams have been so early on. And again, Super Bowl hangover is something a lot of people point to. Watch Arizona in that game in Week 3. Not sure that I would go place anything heavily on it one way or the other. 49ers in Denver to take on the Broncos. That's the Sunday night game. Jimmy Garoppolo back in the fold as the starting quarterback for the 49ers. We all know the problems that Denver's had with Russell Wilson at quarterback over the first 2 games. Yes, they're 1-1, but they have looked anemic offensively. Really haven't been able to get much done. See what the 49ers can do on the road there. Denver plus 1.5 at home against San Francisco. The Monday night game, Dallas and the Giants. And if before the season started, I had said to you, in week 3, the Giants will be a 2.5-point favorite at home against the Cowboys, you would have had me drug tested. There's no way anybody could have imagined a scenario where the Giants would be in a position in week 3 to be a favorite at home against the Cowboys. But that's how quickly your fortunes can change in the NFL. You know, the Dak Prescott injury, the Giants getting the roll of the dice correct in week 1, the win against Tennessee. Last week, doing enough to beat Carolina. And just like that, the Giants are tied with the Eagles atop the NFC East at 2-0. And the Cowboys are just trying to figure out a way to keep it together with Cooper Rush as their quarterback until Dak Prescott gets back. Giants minus 2.5. The number is 39.5. I told you last week to take the Giants when the number was low. You know, the total was low. I said take the under in that Giants Carolina game. It was a winner. I might be looking at something similar. If that number sits at 39.5, I might again say stick with the under, because the Giants aren't going to score a lot of points this year, and as long as Cooper Rush is the quarterback for the Cowboys, I don't think they're going to score a heck of a lot either. Some odds and ends to close it out with on this Tuesday night / Wednesday edition of the Cash In. I'm Jason Page at Sports Map Radio. Ba-ba-na-na. What was it? Wow. Brisket mac and cheese quesadillas. That sounds like a heart attack in your hand. See, at 30, you can do that stuff. At 45, you can't. Yeah, 30, I can do it. 40 and a half, 45, nah. Can't do it. You know, there's a few birthday songs you can go with. This is one of the better ones. It's a good job, John. Yeah. Yeah, I'm cool with this. Thank you. Very nice of you. Yep. You know what the best part of my birthday is? The fact that it's over. You know, it's like your Facebook page is blowing up all day with everybody. You know, all these people that don't say a word to you all year round are wishing you a happy birthday. I hate to sound like the grumpy guy on his front porch, but it's true. You know, people that don't reach out to you all year round. And and look, let's be honest. The only reason most of them are wishing you a happy birthday is because when they log into Facebook, the first thing it tells you is, here's whose birthday is today. Or you get that alert on your phone. Hey, it's so-and-so's birthday today. And you just, hey, happy birthday. Thanks, man. Appreciate it. I get them on LinkedIn, too. It's funny. Oh, I agree. I'm terrible with birthdays and dates and all that stuff. All right, before we go, odds and ends. On the FanDuel Sportsbook, there is a bet as to whether or not Aaron Judge or Paul Goldschmidt will win the Triple Crown in 2022. Right now, the odds on that are minus 170. And I got to be honest, I would jump all over it because I'm not going to say Judge is a lock to win the Triple Crown, but he's obviously got 2 of the 3 legs sewn up. And, he's now leading in batting average with, 13 games to go, something like that. I would jump all over that bet at minus 170 if you can get it right now. I mean, it's not, I don't think it's going crazy to say that, he's going to win. And by the way, there's no way he can lose the MVP at this point, you would think. And it looks like the odds makers agree. Aaron Judge right now to win the American League MVP is minus 20,000. And for those of you at home that don't know what that means, it means you would have to wager $20,000 to win $100. That's as much of a lock as it gets. I mean, he's going to win the MVP. Last one before we go. PK Subban, formerly of the Canadiens, most recently the Devils, announcing on Tuesday his retirement from the National Hockey League after a great 13-year career. Congratulations to PK Subban. Thank you to John Belmer, who did a great job tonight in Houston producing this show. Executive producer Vladimir Louisant booked the guests. I'm Jason Page. We'll catch you back here on Wednesday night for another edition of The Cash In on SportsMap Radio and the SportsMap Radio Network. Have a great night, everybody. No, I did. I agree. Yeah, that was fun. I had a lot of fun tonight. Thank you. Okay, so what's it, Brian, tomorrow? Okay, yeah, shoot me that show, and much appreciated, and I'll talk to you on Thursday. Thanks, my man. All right, bye-bye. Yeah, that kid's good. I want him full-time on the show. I really do. He's just young enough, but not too young. Bit of a different perspective. Well, mid-40s. He's 30. It is definitely a different perspective at that age.